In this video, we're going to tell you about the Library of Congress.
Especially the Jefferson Building.
Well, hello there, parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. I am your host, Sean Donnelly.
I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
We're going to wrap it all together in one big video right here about the Library of Congress.
Okay.
But before we get into that, if you're into the paranormal, history, and forensic type videos,
don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell so you hear from us next time we post a new video.
The Library of Congress. This has been in the database for some time, but we just recently, a couple years ago, got a chance to actually go to the Library of Congress.
We did.
Which was kind of cool.
Yes.
But anyways, we are talking about Panic, the 1872 in the database. It is located at 10 First Street, Southeast, Washington, D.C. And of course, it's right across from the Capitol building.
Which is good, considering they had to move the books from there originally.
Yeah, well, originally started.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about the history. We're not going to cut away and do a video. There's not much. It's the Library of Congress, but we do have some interesting stuff to share.
They've got a lot of stuff in there. It's not like, it's just the Library of Congress, you know.
Why don't you just go ahead and tell them about the history.
All right. Well, here's the thing. The Library of Congress originally started as part of one of the wings of
the
Capitol building. And so eventually it did start to get to be quite a large collection for the space, along with the idea that, Congress was getting bigger too. As we started to get bigger, we needed more Congress. Anyway, under the supervision of librarian Ainsworth Spotford, he suggested that the Congress build a new building specifically designed for being the American National Library. And so they decided to do that. It was agreed upon. And why did they really have so many extra books that they're coming in?
Why do we deal with on YouTube all the time? Copyright law.
That's right. As it turned out, when copyright law went into effect, they had to, if you wanted your book in the Library of Congress, you wanted some copyright law kind of helping out with your, somebody stealing your work, you had to provide them with 2 copies of your book. So 2 copies of every book getting in there, it was getting quite
books,
large.
Everything, maps, pamphlets, anything
That's
that
right.
would fall under a registered copyright, 2 copies had to be submitted to the Library of Congress.
That's right. So it got pretty
That's a
big.
lot of stuff.
Yes. So Congress did approve this construction then. In 1886, they decided to build it. The library started way before that, back in the early 1800s. But the building that we're talking about today, it was actually constructed, approval for the construction was in 1886. It took about 11 years to complete.
It's a beautiful building.
It is beautiful, and it's so precise. And,
yes.
I love it. In any case, it opened to the public for the first time on November 1st of 1897, and everybody just loved it. It was seen immediately as a national monument. Everybody just loved it, and lots of books went in there. It did get its name changed, though, in 1980. So on June 13th of 1980, they changed the name of the building from just the Library of Congress to the Library of Congress Jefferson Building. It does have multiple buildings now. So the original building is the Jefferson Building. And it was because he was a key figure in its establishment when it first came to be in 1800.
So you're going to back up a little bit.
So I'm backing up
Flashback.
now. Back in history. So he was really part of, yes, we should have a library. He was very big into books and reading and having his own collections. And he had a huge collection of his own. And so in 1800, he says, we need to have one nationally. So he did do that. The original Library of Congress,
Had
they
little
decided...
problems with their little friends across the pond, though.
Yeah. Well, they decided to originally provide $5,000 to purchase books for this new library. They did do that, and they purchased 740 books.
Now, this is when
and
it was
3
in the
maps.
Capitol building.
Correct. So that was the original collection. Well, as you were mentioning, we had a little bit of trouble with some friends from across the pond, and when the British came, in the War of 1812, they came and they basically burned all of our books. So August of 1814, 3,000 volumes was the collection, and pretty much most of it was decimated by a fire. However, one of those books in particular was kept. Let me pull up my notes here. It was a volume of government accounting. It was an account book of receipts and expenditures for 1810. It was taken as a souvenir by British Admiral George Cockburn during his invasion. And his family actually returned that back in 1940, which is really cool to get that original book back.
Yeah.
So one of those originals of the collection is actually back. But when this fire happens and they kind of come back and the war is kind of over, Jefferson says, we can't have this. I kind of need a little money.
I was just going to see if you were going to mention that. He was broke.
I kind of need a little cash.
Right.
So if you give me some cash, I'll give you my collection. We can restart the national collection again. I'll be not destitute. What do you think?
Which is really one of the reasons why Jefferson was broke. He did not know how to pass up a book.
Yes, he just kept buying and buying and buying.
Volumes and volumes and volumes of books.
Yeah. So within a month of his deciding, hey, would you do this? The government said, yes, we're going to go ahead and we're going to buy your books from you. So they paid him in January of 1815, they paid him $23,950. And he, in return, gives them 6,487 books. Now, we have a lot of books.
We don't have that many.
We do not have anywhere near the collection that Thomas Jefferson had. And might I add, just as a quick side note, when he died, he had pretty much gotten just as many books in the future.
That's right. He took the money.
He took the money and bought more books. So he was destitute at death as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now the Library of Congress has his collection. It's got almost 6,500 books in it. And so we're doing well again. So then came 1851. And there was a fire. And it pretty much decimated the collection. 2/3 of the collection was destroyed by the fire. They estimate about 35,000 books were destroyed in the fire. And 2/3 of Jefferson's original collection was destroyed as well. So there's only about 2,000 of Jefferson's original books that still remain. All the rest of them burned in that fire in 1851. Congress said, gotta fix this. So they asked for money. Money was appropriated. In fact, $168,700 was appropriated for them to replace the volumes of books that were destroyed in the fire. And they were able to find replacements for all but about 300 of them. So,
well, Jefferson's. All but 300 of Jefferson's original collection.
Yes. But basically, that was a big blow.
Yeah.
Losing that many.
So the building now is pretty good fireproof. They learned.
I would say that they probably learned 2 times having some problems, Today it has over 16 million books in it. And in addition to the books, it has over 120 million other items, from CDs all the way back to some Chinese blocks and things like that. So the collection is quite large. And I said earlier that we're talking about just the Jefferson Building today, but because of such a large collection, they do have multiple buildings now.
So I assume that Boris is going to want to chime in here.
Oh, Boris always likes to chime in.
Yes, I do. Okay, Boris, well, why don't you tell us about some of the paranormal activity that takes place in the Jefferson Building? The Library of Congress is a lesser-known haunted building on Capitol Hill. It does have its share of ghosts, however. The most told ghost story is a police officer who resides in the stacks. He has been seen in both his uniform as well as his casual clothes. He has helped several people exit the stacks when they have become lost in the miles and miles of books. According to the description of the man, and his name as he tells people, he was a sergeant who died several years ago. This occurrence is well known among the many library employees. Other occurrences in the library's main building include doors opening by themselves, constant banging on the steps, and a mysterious dark-haired man. One of the strangest recent events, my friends, happened about 3 years ago when some painters were doing some work in the north corridor on the second floor. The area was closed to the public, and the workers needed to get a cart by 2 heavy corridor cases. One case just magically moved about a foot all by itself, allowing the workers to get the cart through. Yeah, a police officer has been seen roaming in the stacks. Some interesting stuff.
Hey.
We didn't see anything when we were there, which kind of leads us to our personal experiences.
Yeah.
Like I said, a couple years ago, we did go to the Library of Congress. We had a purpose.
That's right.
There were 2 books that we wanted to see in the collection, and in order to do that and go inside the collection, not be a tourist and look at the books from the window and actually go in and read the books, you have to get your
Library of Congress library card.
Well, they call it the research card.
That's true.
Okay, which we did to go see these books.
That's right.
One of the books that we wanted to go see was the actual handwritten book from H.H. Holmes that was featured on American Ripper. It's in the Library of Congress. Originally, we thought we weren't going to be able to see this book because it's in the rare collections and they don't bring it out. They said you can go online and see it.
Right.
We traveled all the way to the Library of Congress, went through all the rigmarole to get our card.
Right.
You can't see it. However, we got to see it.
Yes, because I had a list. We had 2 specific books that we wanted to see that we really were going there for. But I made a list of like 7, and all of the books that we asked to see, they said, I'm sorry, you can't see that. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see that. Oh, that's in the Jefferson collection downstairs, and we don't take them out of that, so you can't see that. You can't see that. And then there was one, they're like, okay, we're gonna go get you this one. And they looked, and they looked, and they looked, and they couldn't find it. So while we're waiting, the guy felt really bad for us.
He felt bad for us.
And he said, you know.
Well, before he brought it up,
he's
he
like,
brought us
you know,
a actual original wanted poster for the conspirator.
The Lincoln Conspirators.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That had the tintypes actually attached to the top of the poster. He brought that out.
Yeah. He comes out and he says,
like,
I know that you guys, from the collection of books that you wanted to see,
we were profiled.
I know. Yes, we were profiled. He's like, I know that you guys would appreciate this. I brought this out kind of as a gesture. I'm like, okay. So he opens it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, and he's like, see, I knew you were going to like this,
Yeah.
And here we are. We can't take a picture because we had to stow everything.
I didn't mention that. That's a bad thing. When you go there to the Library of Congress, you have to stow all of your backpacks and cameras and all that stuff.
Purses, everything.
In a locker before you go into the... Yeah, because everything, when you're doing research, you're taking notes by hand. There's no cameras or anything like that allowed.
Unless
and here we
you
are
get
with
special...
this poster, and I can't take a picture. And we see the book from H.H. Holmes, and I can't take a picture.
Yeah, they do have a way for you to do that, though, but you have to put in, like a month in advance or something like that. You have to have special circumstances and everything.
But the thing is, though, it's the Library of Congress, which is public domain stuff, and if they have it digitized and on their website, you can use the pictures anyways, and those are the pictures that I'm showing you. So I don't know what the difference would be.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm sitting here going...
I know, but it's just... it was so amazing to be able to touch those items and just knowing who had touched those things before. Right. It was amazing.
Cool. We're geeks.
Yeah.
But it was a cool trip.
It was really, really cool.
Now, the one book that they couldn't find, we're going to leave it at that, because we're going to do a live stream Saturday, and we're going to talk about that book and our experience at the Library of Congress and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they did say that they would email me as soon as they found it.
Haven't got the email yet.
Haven't got the email yet. It's been about 3 years. My Library of Congress research card has expired, and I need a new one.
Gotta renew it.
And they still haven't found the book that I'm looking for.
So anybody can get a research card. You just have to go to a certain area and talk to the right person about where to go to get the research card.
Yes, but you have to have a reason for it. They'll ask you what you want it for.
You have to have a list of books.
So I have a list of books. This is what I'm here for. And they're like, okay, But you can't just go and say, I want one. You have to have a purpose.
And there's some other regulations. You have to have an ID, so you got to be 16 or older and have a photo ID, and there's certain requirements. Check with them first before you go there.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
But I have to say, it was super cool, though.
We'll be going back.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we have to renew our cards, but going into the room, in all the movies that when they're going to the research at the Library of Congress, they always go into the room, that round room, right? And you can only, if you're just there as a normal person who's not doing research, you're just going to visit the Library of Congress, you can just look into that room through a glass window.
Yeah.
Just walking into that room as a researcher, oh my gosh, that was so amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, anything else?
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. Till next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting. Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting.